Have you ever seen anything that blends and it stays separate? Have you ever seen anything that blends and stays separate? The first thing that comes to my mind is coffee. I remember my dad, have a he used to have Folgers, and he used to boil the water, put the coffee in the cup. But once he put the water in, it would blend, and you wouldn't be able to see those little kernels or whatever those grounds. You wouldn't be able to see those grounds because it blended. When I hear people say, we're a blended family, but we're separate, it's like, so how are you a blended family if you're separate? I even have heard recently individuals say, we're a blended family, but he lives over there and I live over here. Again, how are you blending? What usually happens is it's difficult. It starts becoming difficult. So people find reasons to stay separate. So then I don't have to deal with all of the challenges that come with it. But when you're in a blended family, there are going to be challenges. That's just something that comes with it, is challenges with the blended family. So instead of saying the word yours and mine's, we're trying to get to the word ours. And to do this, we have to do what's called integration. Integration. And just think about that. When you integrate something, what do? It's the act or the process of uniting two things. You're trying to integrate it. When I was doing this, the only thing that kept coming to my mind was a math problem. I kept thinking about, how do we integrate the math problems? We take one set and we work on a formula to make it blend and become a whole and integrate it so it can be another problem, but we've integrated it. And so that's what you're doing in your blended family. You're integrating it. And so you have to take out the words yours and mine and start using the word ours. If not, you're going to continue to stay separate and you will not be integrated. And so let's just look at some ways to integrate. There are some ways to integrate in your blended family. So step number one is, if you have not started living together, if you're not married, if you're maybe engaged or you're contemplating getting engaged or contemplating living together, the first step is to let the kids know what's going on. And this step right here is absolutely something I did not do. I didn't do this. And when I think about it, I can't tell you why I didn't do it. I can't tell you why, because my daughter, she was in preschool and she was old enough to understand. I can't remember why. And I know my husband didn't do it either. We didn't sit down and talk to the kids about, this is what we're going to do. We just did it. And I don't know if it's because sometimes the way people were raised, and kids are to be seen and not heard, and sometimes you don't share certain things with them. I don't know if that was it, because 27 years ago, that's not something you heard a lot of people doing, sitting down, talking about the blended family with the kids. Maybe that was it. I don't know. But I know absolutely we didn't do that in the beginning. Now, later on in our relationship, we would sit down and talk to the kids about things. And even now as adults, I still sit down and talk to them about things, getting their opinion. What do you think about it? But in the beginning, I didn't do that. But for you that are starting to do this, sit down and talk to the kids. And you're doing this not only to let them be a part of the transition process, but you also want to let them know that you value their feelings, that you value their opinion, and that you want to know what they think. It just means that now I know where I need to start with my child. Now I need to know the conversation I need to have with them. And so absolutely sit down and talk with them. And some people might think that, oh, well, that makes sense. But it's a lot of people that don't do it. Like I said, we didn't do it. Some people just pop up with someone and says, hey, this is so-and-so. They're going to be your new stepmom, stepdad. They're going to be moving in together. And the kids are looking around like, what's going on? When did this happen? And so you really do want to let your kids have a say-so and be part of the process. And another reason why you want to do this, because you're trying to start that communication. Because communication is the foundation. You're trying to start that communication with them and to let them know that it's okay for you to be sad. It's okay for you to say, hey, what about mommy or what about daddy? It's okay for them to have those conversations, and you're supporting them in that. The children are a part of this, and the children do have feelings and the children do have losses. So we want to encourage them to be a part of this process. The next one is before you get together, you and your current partner, to sit down and say, what are we going to do if this happens? So you're being proactive. Again, we didn't do this. We waited till things happened, and then all of a sudden we reacted to it. But you know scenarios. What would happen if the ex-partner did this? What would happen if the grandparents didn't accept the kids? What would happen if the siblings did this? So you're sitting down and you're coming up with scenarios so you both can come to some type of agreement on how you're going to respond to it. The thing to remember with this is it has to be something that you can legitimately and honestly and realistically do. I remember one incident with my husband. My bonus kids, which were his kids, didn't live with us. So we got them like every other weekend. And so an incident happened. I don't know if something happened at school or something happened and child got in trouble. And I was like, as a punishment, not let them come over for that weekend. Well, I could say that because my kids were with us all of the time. We had our kids, which were my biological kids, with us all the time. He only got his kids every other weekend. So that wasn't fair to him. And then he was dealing with some of the guilty parent syndrome of I'm not there with my kids. I don't get to see them as much. So he was dealing with that much more than I was. So it wasn't fair of me to say to him, well, no, we're just going to punish them and not bring them over. Remember, I said it has to be something realistic, and that wasn't realistic. And so again, we would have arguments over things because I didn't understand certain things. And one of the things was agreement that needs to be in place. Also, on the other end, there may be things with my biological children that he would make a rule for. And it's like, well, is it a rule that I could realistically do? Because again, sometimes with the step parents and the bio parents, one can do it because it's like, hey, I'm still bonding with the kids, so it doesn't really bother me. But for that other parent, it could really be bothering them. So you have to realize that it has to be something that you come up with that's more realistic. And it has to be able to be done where both of you are in agreement. If one person says, no, I can't agree to that, you can't keep arguing about it because remember, this is their feelings, how they're feeling about it. And you have to respect their feelings. Another thing that when we're talking about integrating in the beginning, remember, I work with parents 1 to 5 years in the process of combining their family. So I talk about things like in the early years that you should be doing. Another one is present a united front. That I can say for the most part, we did do that in the beginning. There were some issues that we didn't, but in the beginning, for the most part, and with a united front, I'm not saying you agree with everything the person says. And I'm not saying that the person agrees with everything you say, but in front of the kids, you present a united front. And outside of the kids, you discuss it. You talk about it. You have that, what I'll call parents only discussion. The parents only discussion is you don't discuss things in front of the kids. You don't let kids hear what you're saying. With my husband and I, it became a time where we would go into the car, in the garage. In the car, in the garage, close the door when we know the kids wouldn't hear us. And then we talk about what we need to talk about. And if we needed to get loud, it was okay to get loud because the kids weren't there and they didn't hear it. And so sometimes you do need those parent only discussions, but you need to present in front of the kids a united front. If not, the kids are very smart. Oh, they're so smart. And they know where the cracks are. All they need to do is see a little crack like, dad's not seeming like he's on board with this. So I'm going to attack him with it. Or, mom's not seeming like she's on board with it. So I'm going to attack her. And we went through those periods of time in our family where sometimes I wasn't on board with it and the kids knew. Sometimes he wasn't on board and the kids knew. And so that's why having and presenting a united front is so important. Another way to encourage integration is to use similar language. Similar language. What I mean by that is the kids are hearing the same thing, the same message from both parents or the significant other. Can't be different messages. And this kind of goes with presenting a united front because we're saying the same thing. We're saying it the same way. We're not twisting it so that, you know what, I really don't want to hurt my kids' feelings. And so I'm going to say it this way because they'll get the message differently. They'll get the message that, no, that's not what you said. I I remember with the kids, and I use my biological kids a lot because we live with them. And a lot of things happen at the house with them. I use my bonus kids because when they came over every other week. And so you'll hear me saying things with them, but I mostly use my kids. We live with them. And I know in blended families, there are different types of blended families. And I know a lot of people, they do live with their bonus children. But I didn't live with my bonus children. They came over for the weekend. And so a lot of the day-to-day dealings, they were with my children. That's why I understand some of the struggles that the step parents go through, because I would see it a lot of times in my husband, and then I would see it how I would respond to it as the bio parent. But you have to have a united front. And with the united front, it lets the kids know that we're on the same page, that we both believe the same thing. And when this united front came up, a lot of times you will see in the extended family, like maybe the grandparents didn't feel a certain way, but you two have to have a united front. I remember a case, well, an article I read early on about the grandparent that didn't want to buy toys, buy gifts for the stepchildren. And in that instance, the father wasn't saying anything. And that will be an example of, you need to be on a united front. You need to both be able to say to, well, probably more so him, tell his parents that, you know what, we're not going to um, point out one child or the other. We're going to bring a gift for both of them, or we're not going to bring a gift in front of them. Now, you can still buy a gift for your child. We're talking about being a united front in front of the kids, because they need to know that family is a safe place, and it's a place where we can go, and it's a place where we are protected. We're talking about being able to integrate, to move past having this mindset of us against them. It's us in the house against them. And I remember early on in my relationship with my husband, he would say that sometimes. He would say, you know, Lois, I feel like it's you guys against me. And I never understood that until later on. I understood, because it was the things that I was doing. The things that I was doing, that I wasn't promoting this united front in front of them. And if you don't promote that united front, the kids will get a sense of, it's us against him. And it's the same thing when my bonus kids would come over. Sometimes I would feel like, well, you should be saying certain things. And he's feel like, well, you know what? I don't want to make them upset. I want them to continue to come over. So again, that united front needed to be there, regardless of if the kids live with you or if they don't live with you. You still have to have that united front. And then afterwards, you can have that parental discussion about what you liked and what you didn't like. So remember, if there's any aha moments that you had, anything that maybe you didn't think about, or it was like a light bulb moment to you, or something that is going to help you in your blended family journey, go ahead and write it down. I would love to hear it, because I want to make sure that I'm giving you value, that I'm helping you. And if there's something else that maybe I didn't cover and you had a question about it, go ahead and put that in the chat. All right, so take care.